to Papercrafts. Today is day 2 of a 5-part series on creating your own quilled nativity set. Last time we covered Mary, and today we are creating our angel. For the angel, we're going to use quite a bit of paper, but that's okay. It's all worth it. We're going to be using some bright white 1/4 inch. You'll need 2.5 of those. So let's go ahead and just pull those off. So this is 1/4 inch. Oh, I had a leftover. Well, we'll use that one because I only need 2.5. Why take off a whole nother piece when I already have one ready and going? Okay, so that's going to become the angel body. If you watched Mary, then you know kind of that process. We're going to use the exact same process for creating the angel body as we did for Mary. Then we're going to need one off-white or whatever color you want your angel face to be. I always have whites on hand, so it's kind of the easy decision. Make sure you don't mix up your off-white with your bright white because your angel will look kind of weird. So I'm going to set that one to my left rather than to my right. You will also need some wide pieces of whatever color you want for the hair because I tend to do more brown-headed or black-headed figurines. I tend to go very blonde for the angel just to give some variety in terms of hair color. You're also going to need two 24-inch long, 1/8 wide strips of paper to create the wings. Go ahead and pull off my two so I can clean off my workspace. And then again, another little piece of off-white for the hands. This was 8 inches, so each hand is roughly 4 inches long. So that's going to come a lot lighter, so I'll set those over there. And then you're also going to need a little scrap piece. I have a longer than just a scrap piece here today, but you're going to need a scrap piece of a gold shiny metallic for the halo. Okay, so now that we have all of our paper, let's get started. If you remember from Mary, gluing it together and making Mary stay together was a little bit more of a headache than I would like to have it been, but it's likely to happen all over again with the angel, so I'm going to start with the angel body. Take one of your pieces and I've just tore it in half, so it's roughly 12 inches now. If your paper isn't exactly 24 inches, don't worry about it. Just go with whatever the length is. And then just fold the other one in half, and then we're going to glue it on there. I tend to want to roll my seams pretty quickly after gluing them, just so they will kind of curve and bend rather than make a big ugly bump. I don't like my seams being obvious. So then put the tail inside of the slot and just roll and roll and roll to the end to create a nice long tight circle. You do not necessarily need to hold your fingers this way. It's actually easier to hold this way, but if my thumb is over here, you're able to see what I'm doing. So make sure you go backwards just a little bit so it's loose, because if there's a little bit of give, it's going to make it a lot easier to shape. So a little bit of glue there on the inside of that tail, and we will have the body made. Again, it can take a few seconds for that to tack, so don't be surprised if it wants to pop off, which is why I always wait to pull out my quilling tool so I can always just retwist. All right, voila, I have the base of the body done. So, you know what, let's go ahead and glue it because it always takes forever for the glue, or it seems like it takes forever for the glue. Doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, take forever. Okay, so then one of my little tricks is to use a Sharpie pen. Just use the back end of it to help get it going, because sometimes So we're going to take our head and start putting some glue where we're going to put our hair. Just going to do a little bit at a time because otherwise it's going to become very sticky, and then I'm going to end up with glue everywhere. I'm just going to put on one piece and the other one. So that way it looks like the hair is continuous right up over the top of the head. And then we're just going to fold those other ones down in the back. I realize it looks like our angel is having a really bad hair day, but it won't always look that atrocious. Promise. So I'm going to keep the ones right here in the front. And I'm going to add a little bit more glue to help just tack them down a little bit. However, I don't want her hair or the angel's hair to look plastered down, so you don't necessarily want to glue it all the way down. But I always like having at least one to help frame the face. And as your paper gets in contact with the glue, your curls are going to want to expand, so don't let that surprise you. This is normal with paper and glue. It's going to want to just expand. Hence part of the reason why I go with curls rather than worrying about having it all nice and neat and straight. So now I'm just bringing over some of the other curls to help make them line up. So I've got curls going down both sides of the head. So I can turn it over so you can see what's going on there on the front. This is where that extra curl that kind of ripped off is going to come in handy because we can just glue it in little pieces right over the top and no one will be the wiser. So then the two that are there a little bit more on the back side, I'm just going to pull those so they come a little bit more along the back. And I'm going to take my piece with just the three. I'm going to end up gluing it right in there. Put the glue there so it'll actually end up more or less where I'm wanting it to go. Yep. Put that down. I'm taking a dry Corsage pen to help poke it in place. I'm trying to keep my fingers out so you can see. And just pushing it down to help it tack. Just gentle. So now it looks like our angel has quite a nice head of hair, and we still have lots of leftover curls, which is fantastic. Because what we can do is add one of our other pieces right over the top, so it'll look like our angel has a very nice head, full head of hair. It's making me think of the Toy Story movie where Buzz Lightyear comes on at the end and tells Jessie she has a nice head of a yarn full of hair. So the same thing here of our angel. I'm just going to put it more towards the back so that way we can hide the seam. If hiding seams is not super important to you, then don't worry about where those seams end up. I just like having mine look very as polished as I can get them. It just takes a few extra seconds to help make it look that much more polished. I figure it's time well spent. So now I'm going to attempt to hold on to where I just glued it and then help these curls kind of just lay down. So now you can't even tell that the back side of her head was kind of like an open bowl shape. So woohoo, we did that. Fantastic. Her hair is way longer than we're going to want it to be. But again, that's a good problem. We don't want it to be too short and then go, shoot. If only it were just a little bit longer. If you're wanting some of your curls to be a little bit more open to hide some white spaces, you just kind of undo all of that curl that we put in earlier. might take a couple of different pieces of hair to kind of hide. But again, no one's really going to be looking at your angel that closely, chances are. Or a little bit of glue to help hold a piece of hair in place. But again, don't give your angel a plastered look, because everyone will know that you plastered down the angel's hair. I think that one is not plastered down. So just a little bit. We could also have hidden some of these white spaces by putting down another piece of this yellowy orange paper underneath it all, but that just sometimes feels like one extra step, especially when you're trying to get your whole nativity set done in a weekend. Okay, now I'm just fiddling. All right, so when we bring in the body, don't really want her to look like Brave with her hair going in a million different directions. Plus, we've got the wings to put on in the back too. So let's go ahead and put on the head. It's going to be easier to trim her hair once we know where everything is going to finish lining up. Put some glue here. And while that's tacking, it's going to make it a lot easier. Let's go ahead and put in the hands. So a little bit of glue on the insides. Now, if you're not using one that you've set aside and made ahead of time like I did, you're going to probably, you will need to wait for your arms to completely dry to your body. Again, remembering Mary from last time, she was not a happy camper and getting rushed. So I'm just going to push those open a little bit so they'll fit inside and grab that glue, and then I'm just going to nudge them in. Our two little hand teardrops. So again, just kind of round them out so they'll grab the glue on the way in. Because again, I'm going to have to just squish them down just to help slide them in. But then I know that they've caught the glue on the way in. Okay, I need to be patient again to wait for all of that to tack. Just a little bit more. I really like that curl going on the front, but I don't know that all of her hair is going to be able to be that long. So I'm not convinced that I'm going to be able to keep that long curl going there in the front. Holding on the head, make sure it tacks and dries, because it's going to be kind of challenging to trim her hair and then put on the wings if her head is not dry all the way. So while we're waiting, we need to make our halo. Carefully put the angel down. Okay, there we go. Make sure if you put it down and you wobble the head that you straighten out the head. So the next for a halo, this is where having that Sharpie pen on hand is nice, because I'm just going to use the base of it to go around a couple of times for the halo. So being this is a glistening or a jewel tone paper, tacky glue is going to work the best, but Elmer's will work, but it's sometimes a little bit pickier about tacking quickly or easily. So then I'm just going to wrap it around the pen 2-3 times just so our halo is obvious. Try not to knock down the angel at the same time. And then I am going to go ahead and snip this, just because no matter what I do, there's going to be an obvious seam with this paper. So I might as well make it look neat. Some glue there on the inside. Smooth it down. Slide off any of the extras so it'll stay nice and glistening all the way around. This paper will take a while to tack, so you are going to need to hold it for a while. All the more reason to do it while we're waiting for the head to dry on. Trying to get little pieces of glue stuck to my fingertips. Get them off before I glue them onto my angel somewhere. Okay, it looks like the halo has tacked. I'm just gonna lay it down. We have a beautiful halo. I'm wanting to be impatient again. Let's see. I don't know that, yep, our head is not dried on all the way. But yeah, that's gonna be way too long to help get our wings there in the back. And way too much to be able to just tuck our wings underneath. Nothing else. I can shorten up or pull off her head again. We'll have another Mary opportunity. But to trim some of the closest layer, so then that way perhaps we can tuck. I should just be like, no, it's just not going to work. Let's just go ahead and trim them all off for the wings. You can try to hide the wings under some of the hair, but I think it's just going to make more sense, for this angel at least, and the amount of time that I want to spend fiddling with her, to just trim her hair so it's more of a shorter shoulder length option. So then I can still kind of get that curl there on the front. Waiting for the head to dry again here. But if nothing else, we now have lots of little curls to use for going right over the top where she's kind of flat rather than curly. She doesn't have curly roots. Okay, so let's go ahead. Hope that she will cooperate here. We will find out very soon. Put some glue kind of right there at the base of her hair. You might have to trim it just a little bit more for the wings. I'm going to be rather generous because, again, no one's really going to see this because the wings are going to cover it. Actually, I think I'm going to need a little bit more. When in doubt, this is another opportunity. Don't worry about using too much, other than it's going to take a little bit longer for it to dry. I'm holding on her head and pressing the wing in. So I can maybe tuck or pull some of her hair up on top of it all. Don't want to grab her by the hair, the head, or the wing. Yep. Okay. Well, then let's just go ahead and get our wings on. And then we'll put the head back on. You can decide how high up or low you want the wings. How much you want them to wrap around to the front. Okay. While that's working on it, let's add just a little bit more glue there to the neck piece so it can start to tack. Get my head out of the way there so you can see. Okay, well, we might as well take our opportunities here and we'll finish curling up her hair. So we're going to put some more glue. Nothing else, you know that this can happen. If it happens to me, it will probably happen to you. Then I'm just going to take some of these little pieces and throw them around like confetti. But just lay them across. The top of her head. So that way it looks like she's got some curls all the way around. Or he. It could be a he angel, not necessarily a girl angel. These will potentially take on a little bit more of a plastered look, but don't worry because we're going to put a halo on the top. So it's not going to matter quite so much. Okay, nice. I think I'll put one more along the back. A little bit more glue there. Choose a nice long curl. That will wrap right over that. Nice. Perfect. Nothing like making use of dry time for something else. Perfect. I like it. Okay, another moment of truth. Will our wings stay on? We are about to find out. Pull back the hair. Pull out that front curl because it's not wanting to rest over her shoulder so nicely right now. There we go. Okay. Looking good. I think our hair pushed one of the wings down just a little bit. Yep. That means I can take one of my dry corsage pins and try to move those curls back and around just a little bit more. But looks good. I think one of my curls came off, so let me put another one on here in the front. Ta-da! Okay, now all we need to do is put on her halo. So to do that, we're just going to put a ring of glue on the bottom side. Don't worry about it being too much. Again, no one's really going to see. And put it on. I'm not going to push it on very much. It's more of just making sure that the glue attaches to some of the hair. Put it at a very jaunty angle, or you can just put it more straight down. It is entirely up to you. Perfect. If I were to pick her up right now so you could see her face, it's going to come off. Once she dries, you're going to use the same procedure as I used with Mary for painting on a face. I used some good old acrylic, just the cheap generic acrylic paint available at most craft stores, either a dark chocolate or a black and some sort of a red for the smile. Again, because I don't want to pick her up and have her fall apart. Now that I finally have her all finessed, I'll show you Mary again from the last video. So just 2 little dots of paint for the eyes and a little tiny curve for the mouth on your angel, and your angel will be done. Hopefully you will join me again for making a sheep in a couple of weeks. Until then, thanks so much for joining me.